Investment advisory services offered through Independent Solutions Wealth Management and Blackridge Asset Management, LLC. Peak Broker Services, LLC is not an affiliate of Independent Solutions or Financial Guys, LLC.
You're listening to The Financial Guys.
We're $23 trillion in debt, honey. We don't have an extra surplus of money.
Newsflash, guys, stop attacking businesses, because when all the businesses are gone, nobody's going to pay your salary anymore. You get that?
If the goal is to create a loser mentality, you're winning.
I'm going to build a big, beautiful wall with a big, beautiful door. Well, guess what? We have a big, beautiful door, all right. It's the wide open southern border, right?
Yeah.
Here's Glenn Wiggle and Mike Lomas.
All right, welcome back. Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle, the place where money meets politics. And we'll see if we can get to some money today. We are going to be all over the board as we are each and every week. We'll talk about Biden tax increases, the COVID BS. I mean, it just doesn't stop. They just continue. The left continue. We'll play some clips from Andrew Cuomo. The left continues to use this as a scare tactic. That it can. Andrew admitted in his own words, he's not using science at all. It's all about people being scared. Some doctors, I don't know if you saw this one, Glenn, doctors take down misinformation on coronavirus.
Yeah.
And they were spot on with the BS of the mask and all that stuff. We'll see if we can play that video.
Yeah.
Hundreds of businesses hit with COVID violations here in Erie County. 9 of them shut down. So these are the same dirtbag health inspectors that couldn't be bothered showing up at a protest. But boy, they can shut down Eden Memorial VFW post because apparently people weren't social distancing there. These are veterans.
Let me tell you something. In Palm Beach County, Florida, which is our other home base now, there's not been a single fine handed out to a business for lack of wearing a mask. Not a single fine.
If the masks work, you wear your mask. It's simple, right? If they work, wear yours to freaking bed. I don't care.
Right.
Wrap your whole body in a goddamn mask. Just don't tell me to do it.
Look, if you want to have a mandate, go have a mandate. But these businesses, there are people lining up in food lines that are miles long. The media stops showing you that, folks. It doesn't mean that people are not in those lines, right?
Sure.
We've heard the stories from the food bank in Buffalo to all the food banks across the country that have been cleaned out because food costs have gone through the roof. No one's making contributions, right? People don't have incomes because their jobs have been closed. They've lost their livelihood. Some of these restaurants, and what these clowns and government don't understand, people put their life's works into the whole life savings, right? Yeah. I mean, you can mortgage your house.
Generation after generation, Glenn. Generation after generation.
Just horrible. To gloat about it. Well, we're out there. We shut down 9 businesses. Way to go, pulling cars. Nice work. Terrible. These poor
and they
folks.
don't, and not one of them have any stones, right? We've called multiple times to try to get them on the radio to defend themselves. If they really thought that what they were doing was heroic, then they would come on and they would defend themselves, right? It'd be real simple to say, here's what we're doing, and here's the science behind it. This is all political bullshit. Yep. They know damn well it's political bullshit, and they just don't care. And you conservatives, by the way, continue to. I stopped the other day to buy some cigars, right? Mm-hmm. And this guy went on to tell me how the prices are going up in in New York State because the tax on cigars is now 75%. Andrew Cuomo just increased the taxes, right? And I said a few choice words about Andrew Cuomo, and the guy at the counter said, yep, I hear that all day, man. We're just disgusted by it.
Yeah.
Then he told me, you really need to have a mask on. And I said, are you getting this?
Do you hear yourself?
Like, are you getting it? Do you hear yourself?
I mean,
they're just smashing your business with higher taxes. They don't give a shit. And you're asking me to wear a mask? Are you kidding me? Like, you're not getting it, man. Maybe you do deserve to go out of business. I don't know what to tell you, but guess what's going to happen? I'm going to start ordering my cigars online. Done.
Yeah. Well, here's what's frustrating.
Or go to the Indian reservation again.
Yeah, again, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's what's frustrating, and this is what really bothers me the most, is that it's right in your face. Media, come on.
Yes.
We've been talking about this for 6 months. Let's just go back down memory lane just for a second. And by the way, I'll play some clips. Stu Stu used to be on with Glenn Beck. He did a unbelievable Twitter piece by piece, day by day of Governor Cuomo and all the mistakes he made. But just go back for a second. In May of this year, in New York, the headline was Cuomo shocked that 66% of new cases coming from people that stayed on lockdown. Now, you couple that with couple other studies in between. I won't bore you with it all. And then the most recent thing from the CDC just came out, and they said it looks like, and which makes sense, the vast majority of new cases are coming from restaurants and bars. And what they found was when they asked everybody, 70% reported always wearing masks, 15% reported almost always wearing masks, right? Of the group, 85 percentile of always wearing masks and most often wearing masks were the ones that had the COVID. The other ones that didn't wear a mask, 3% that had the COVID, were only 3% that didn't wear masks. So it's clear when you start to tie the evidence together that the masks, if anything, are making things probably worse. But at the best case scenario, it's a neutral. Now, on top of that, you have the CDC as well as the World Health Organization, even though they're owned by Communist China, that just came out and said lockdowns were never meant to be the long-term solution. They were only meant to buy us time to flatten the curve.
Yeah, to not overwhelm the healthcare system.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, there's not one healthcare system in all of the country that is overwhelmed right now. Not one. There's a few that are having tough times. Oh, yeah, that's because we laid off 50% of the staff, not because of the overwhelming COVID cases.
And they're backed up, right?
And read the headlines, by the way. I think it was CNBC. I don't know if I sent it to you, but it said, Spectrum News locally here. It said, monitor the COVID deaths, right? But then when you open it, it's all about COVID cases. It has not. They don't show you any stats on COVID deaths because they know there's no COVID deaths, right? I think we had 9, and the other day we had 9 in all of New York, and not one of them could I find without pre-existing conditions. Not one. So there was not one actual case of COVID that day. Nobody died.
At this point, between the weakening of the virus, between the new treatments that we have, if you are healthy, even if you're over 70, like Donald Trump, he's 74 years old. He went in. He's out in 2 days. He's fine. Now, obviously, he's getting the best medical treatment in the world. But the reality of it is
not any different, though.
People aren't getting hospitalized in vast numbers right now.
I was talking to Ron Reinstein yesterday, and his dad had COVID, and they were going through the medicines that his dad had versus Donald Trump. It's his stepdad. Same thing. Exactly same thing. His dad. By the way, his stepdad's not wealthy or rich or any,
Well, that was early on, though. His stepdad. That was way before Regeneron. I mean, that was his stepdad had it the right around Easter time. So that was way
mistake
early
they made with him, which they made with a lot of people.
Aggressive too back then.
Yeah, but the mistake they made with him with a lot of people is they put him on a ventilator.
Exactly. Well, because they incentivized that with money. Here's the other thing they did, Mike. I didn't realize this. I found this out recently. Here's why they said we're going to put everybody in this one hospital and everybody in this hospital. If your hospital treated over a certain number of COVID patients, you got like an extra $50,000 kicker. So the game let's put
how many can you treat?
Exactly. Yeah. We'll put as many. We'll make sure this hospital gets it, and this hospital. And look, I don't fault any hospitals for wanting to get federal money. My argument is on the fault is the federal government for incentivizing.
Well, they set it up like welfare. Glenn.
Exactly. Incentivizing treatment. Why would you do that?
Everything they do, I don't care, Democrat run, Republican run, is a miserable failure.
Well, why not do it after the fact, though? Why not come out after the fact and say, here's how we're going to recompensate you for things?
Yes.
Why put that out in front? Hey, for everyone you get out a ventilator, $38,000. And for everyone, if you can get 25 people in a nursing home, you can get an extra $50,000 kicker on top of that.
If you kill one, we'll go 2 for 1.
What is this? What are we, a carnival here? Like, hey, you can have this nursing home, death rate, or what's in the box? I mean, it's
just like welfare. Just like welfare.
Terrible.
Hey, how many can we sign up? This is a good thing.
Let's hear Governor Cuomo. You sent me this clip, Mike. This is him admitting that he knows that the lockdowns don't work. He knows.
Yeah, it's not anything to do with science, by the way, which we were told, right?
Yeah.
Follow the science. Follow the science.
Nothing about the science.
Until the science actually turned the other way and said, this is not even as deadly as the flu was 2 years ago. We should have never done any of this. Don't follow the science, right?
Exactly. I want to read Stu's emails or tweets as well because you'll be shocked. This is from Dan Bongino's show.
Let me make a comment and let us Dr. Zucker. I don't disagree with you. And look, I'm 100% frank and candid. This is not a highly nuanced, sophisticated response. This is a fear-driven response. This is not a policy being written by a scalpel. This is a policy being cut by a hatchet. It's just a very blunt. I didn't propose this, It was proposed by the mayor in the city. I'm trying to sharpen it and make it better, but it's out of fear. People see the numbers going up. Close everything. Close everything. It's not the best way to do it.
No, certainly wasn't.
A fear-driven response. The virus scares people. Hopefully, we get the numbers down in the zip codes. The anxiety comes down, and then we can have a smarter, more tailored approach. Your point is right. why close every school? Why don't you test the schools and close the ones that have a problem? I know.
Would make sense, wouldn't
first, I don't know that we have the resources to do that now.
What do you mean the resources
seriously?
to do that?
Honestly, the fear
The hell resources do you need?
is
Right.
high to do anything.
The fear is too
fear
high
is
because
too
of
high.
you.
The
Because
fear
of
is
you.
too high because you've been fanning the flames. Let's
Yes.
go back, Mike. Let's take just a
But
quick stroll down
We
memory
could do
lane,
all
shall we?
Saturday's show on just this video,
yeah.
by the way.
Oh, yeah.
All this, this is fear driven. Wasn't the
Yeah.
best way to do it, and the virus scared people. You know who scared people? Andrew Cuomo.
You did.
You scared people.
Yeah.
You're continuing to scare people, right? There's the odds of me dying of COVID. I've got a way better chance of getting hit by lightning or eaten by a shark at this point,
Yep.
right? You're scaring people. You're continuing to scare people. And by the way, your dirtbag health inspectors are out there shutting people down. Of course they're scared. You know what? They're not scared. They're not scared of the virus. They're scared of you.
Right. That's exactly what they're scared of. They're scared
Yeah.
of losing their livelihood. They're scared
Yes.
of losing their business.
I
They're
walked
scared of
into a-
losing the means to provide food for their family, man.
Yeah,
And
I
pay
walked
their
into
mortgage. That's what they're
an
scared
overstock the other day. You know, one of those, they sell the stuff from last year or whatever, and I didn't have my mask on. The guy says, you got to have your mask on. Yeah. I said, do you own this business? He goes, yeah. And so then you can make the rules up. He goes, no. Health inspectors have already been in here. They're going to find me. And I could tell
Unbelievable.
he wasn't afraid of me giving him
fearful.
the virus. He was scared of Andrew Cuomo, Mark Poloncarz, and all his dirtbag friends.
Yep.
That's what he's scared of.
Absolutely. I got to find this thing that Stu put out there. It was absolutely perfect. Here it is, right here. This is Andrew. So this is from Stu Bergier, I think. It's at Stu Does America, which is his own podcast.
As you're bringing it up, he says the lockdowns weren't the best way to do it. Then stop them.
Then stop them.
Then just stop them.
But he's doing it anyway.
By the way,
we don't
here's
have
why
the means
schools-
to test school by school.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
First of all, here it's real simple. They're already doing this asinine check of your temperature on the way into school, right? So if you don't have a fever, there's a very high probability you don't have the flu, right? So that's it.
That's it.
If you're really truly scared about this thing, you test them. You're on your way. Done.
Right,
5
done.
days a week. No mask.
There's plenty of
it's
tests.
over.
You could test the whole school if you needed to.
They
It's
know.
just-
First of all, we shouldn't even be doing any of that. I look at the flu 2 years ago, and even conservatives are caught in this trap now of well, you know, it's highly contagious. No, it's not. It's not any more contagious than the flu was 2 years ago. We
Yeah.
had 80,000 people die of the flu. And I assure you, if we tested people and the mainstream media said COVID-17 2 years ago then they did all this BS, we would have said, oh my God, there's millions of cases across
Well,
the
it's like
country.
the death count in Iraq.
80,000 people would have died, right? And by the way, we actually lost 80,000 people 2 years ago. So had they measured it the way they're doing this year, we would have
It'd be about
said
the same.
800,000 people died of COVID-17, and then we would have said, well, wait a minute, they would have died. 800,000 died with COVID-17. 80,000 died of COVID-17.
Well, with
right?
the flu, actually, 2 years ago, I read the statistics. It was something along the lines of 180,000 people died of complications that they didn't count flu.
There you go.
But
There you go.
80,000 of which they counted directly from flu with
Yeah,
other complications. So
identical.
I guess in 80,000, flu was the primary
Identical.
factor
My
versus
guess
the
is-
other 100,000 where it was a contributing factor. I'll put it that
And
way.
if these mental midgets were all wearing masks, it probably would have been 280.
Right.
Because there is no doubt in my mind. And I have talked to frontline COVID doctors. I've talked to multiple doctors. We talked about studies in an emergency room where masks were actually more infectious than without a mask. And here is why. It's very simple, folks. I have my coffee. Coffee has COVID on it. I touch my coffee, and then I touch my mask. And I make sure I touch it, and then I breathe in that COVID
Well, yeah,
for
then I'm
20
gonna hold it
minutes.
to my
I
face and breathe it in for the next 4 hours. It's
I really
stupid.
make sure that COVID gets in there, right?
Yep.
And
The
it's
studies are
proven.
showing that now. I mean,
The
there's
studies
no
are absolutely
question.
showing that.
The
And
latest
how-
CDC data, 70% of the new cases coming in, they reviewed like 11 institutions.
Yep.
70% reported always wearing masks.
Yep.
15% reported almost always wearing masks.
Yep.
And 3 to 7%, I don't remember, I can look it up, reported never wearing masks. So let's see. Of all the new cases, for every 100 cases that came in,
Right.
70 always wore masks, 15 people almost always wore masks,
Yeah.
and the ones in between were half and half, and then like 7
they-
people never
Did
wore
they
masks.
not
And they're
put
saying,
it on
see
their
the mask
mask and
work. It's
breathe
ridiculous.
it
It's
in,
lunacy.
Well, did they not? It's either this. Either they didn't put their mask on, which had COVID on it, which they didn't breathe it in, or their immune systems are actually healthier.
It's just,
I don't care which one it is. The stats are proving that they're actually doing more harm than good. And by the way, nailed it. Another one the financial guys nailed from day one.
Yeah.
From day one.
It's just ridiculous. This is all about control, folks. If they can, this is a test, right? This is a test run for 2021. If they can get you to wear a mask, you land at the Buffalo airport now. Where's your check mark? Let me see your phone. Where's your check mark?
That's right.
It's going to be a vaccine soon. Where's your vaccine certificate? You can't travel without a vaccine certificate. You might have the COVID.
You don't have a vaccine. We're going to put a tattoo on your arm.
This is going in a
on your arm. We're going to mark
bad
you.
direction. Bad direction. And I got to tell you, and I know the guys in the National Guard, unfortunately, they have to follow orders.
No, they don't.
Would you follow orders, though, if Andrew Cuomo said go round up the Hasidic Jews in New York City?
First of all,
would you?
It's totally unconstitutional, and they can relocate. You just say no. I'm sorry, but at that point,
out of the National Guard if they said no. They would be kicked out, which is what I would do. I would walk away.
Yes,
if it's
absolutely.
me, I'm walking away. I've got friends in the National Guard. I've got friends that are previously have served the National Guard.
You sign up in the National Guard to defend our freedoms, not take them away.
Well, so shame on all of you that are the brown shirts of Andrew Cuomo. I'm just going to ask you, and I'm going to when I do land in Buffalo, and I am coming back.
We should videotape him.
I'm going to videotape him. I'm going to ask him point blank. If Andrew Cuomo told you to go round up the Orthodox Jews in New York City, would you do it? Would you do it? Because when you talk about the lockdowns and you look at the map of the lockdowns, Governor Cuomo and Bill DiBlasio are punishing specifically the Orthodox Jews. He's calling them out. These poor folks have been attacked enough. They've been assaulted in the streets. I mean, these poor folks in New York City, these Orthodox Jews in New York City and New Jersey, have just like the nicest people in the world and get nothing but absolute hate.
Many of them business owners, right? So now they've been smacked twice. Losing their businesses, crushing their businesses, and then by the way, you can't congregate and pray that you can get out of this.
Terrible. You can't have a funeral for your whatever.
No.
Let me read these. Let me go through
Let
me go through the 30 Days of March. You'll love this, Mike. This is classic. This is Stu. Stu used to be on with Glenn Beck. He may still be, but he's got his own podcast now called Stu Does America. It's got a Twitter feed at Stu Does America. I'll put a link to on ours. I've already posted this to ours as well. Andrew Cuomo's new book is out, a fictional tale in which he proclaims himself master of coronavirus and viral savior of New York. But that's not even close to true. Let's go through Cuomo's actions in the most important month. March 1st, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announces New York City's first confirmed case of COVID. He's got all these videos links as well. March 2nd, Cuomo would spend this period strenuously arguing that New Yorkers were worrying too much. Quote, in this situation, the facts defeat fear because the reality is reassuring. It is deep breath time, he said. That was March 2nd. March 3rd, Cuomo finally takes immediate action on the crisis, the vaping crisis, that is. Holds a rally at the Capitol, and vaping goes away. So vaping in New York fell by the executive order, so you can no longer get flavored vapes in New York, because that was a big threat. So for those liberals, by the way, for those of you that I'm sure
that was as bad as the heroin problem, for sure.
If you're a conservative listening to this and your liberal friends or neighbors or relatives are saying, wow, Trump didn't act early enough, I want to remind you that this is March. Trump closed the border with China January 30th and got absolutely lambasted by Governor Cuomo and Joe Biden. So that's March 4th. So that was March 3rd.
And Pelosi. Don't forget about Pelosi. Pelosi also lambasted him, saying, how dare he? He's a racist. He doesn't like the Chinese.
So here's Cuomo again, March 4th now. We have an epidemic caused by coronavirus, but we have an epidemic that is caused by fear. He gives a version of this line almost every interview he does. March 5th. Think of the criticism lobbed at Trump administration about downplaying the virus. Cuomo does this over and over again. Here, the facts do not merit the level of anxiety. Let me play this clip, because this is actually worth listening to. This guy is really something else. Stu did a great job with this. He really put this together well.
Here, the facts do not merit the level of anxiety that we are seeing.
Now, he's hammering the president right now for downplaying the virus.
Amnesia.
This is March 5th, folks.
But
his own words. His own words.
You know why? Because the media is so corrupt. It is beyond corrupt. It just disgusting that they do no research. They will. We've been talking about. We'll get to it before the end of the show. And I don't want to stop these clips because these are great. But the Biden family trust fund that they put up between Ukraine.
We'll talk about that.
And all his ties. Right. He will 100% walk away from every bit of it.
Yeah.
Because he's a registered Democrat and a wealthy registered
He should
Democrat.
go to jail.
Right.
There's no question.
He should already be in jail. Glenn. If that was you and I, we would already be in jail. By the way, his friends are going to jail, right?
Two out of three are already in jail. Two out of three of the business partners are in jail.
I will bet you a beer, and a very cold beer, that they go nowhere.
One of which was
Jason Galanis or whatever, the fund manager.
What's Kerry's first name? Ran for president, John Kerry? They're very
John Kerry,
friends.
yeah.
John Kerry's nephew.
I almost said Jim Kerry.
Yeah, Jim Kerry. No, John Kerry, his nephew is one of those two guys. So we'll get to that. Let me go back to this.
Oh, yeah, well, the mainstream media will pick up that story for sure.
Yeah,
right?
well, we'll see what happens on the debate Thursday. We got to get to that, too.
How does not everybody not know that he's a nephew of John Kerry, right? How does everybody not know the ties to
I guess he didn't have enough pull. Apparently Biden's kid does, but John Kerry's kid does. Anyway, so this is now, remember.
He's not running for president. Yeah.
So this is, again, Stu's Twitter feed, which is great. He did what do they call these? A string or a thread. Close. String, thread, close enough. Anyway, so this is now March 6th. So he says, remember all that criticism of Republicans who were comparing COVID to the flu? Cuomo did just that. March 6th, Cuomo, quote, we have more people dying in this country from the flu than we have dying from coronavirus. Here's Cuomo again in his own words. You can't make this stuff up.
No.
We have more people in this country dying from the flu than we have dying from coronavirus.
So tell me again, who's the one downplaying this? Is it President Trump that was downplaying? Oh, but Woodward had the story. This is such a hit piece. It's unreal.
By the way, if they didn't turn it into a political mess and run with this story, and he kept with what the truth was, and he's telling the truth right now. We should not have been scared of this virus. We never run from stuff. We're not going to hide from stuff.
Well, the problem was New York City was a disaster.
If you've got a compromised immune system, like you should every year during the flu, you should take precautions, vitamin C, vitamin D, and if you really feel like a mask is going to help you, God bless you. But you don't. His approach right there, had he kept with that, and first of all, had he not taken COVID positive patients and put them back in nursing homes. By the way, did you see the counts now? The death count in New York State was up to 35,000. Now, miraculously, it's 25,000. So they must have polled. I'm watching all the mainstream media now say 25,000. They must have polled all of those nursing home deaths off the table.
That's exactly what they did. March 7th, after weeks of telling people not to worry so much and comparing COVID to the flu, Cuomo finally signs an executive order declaring a virus a disaster emergency in the state of New York. If he knew he was doing this, why would he be downplaying the situation? Which is a really great point. So if you knew you were going to sign a declaration. Now, I was going to say before, Mike.
Isn't that what they accused President Trump of doing?
Yep, exactly.
Wow, that's funny.
New York State, and New York City in particular, was an abstract disaster, right?
Yep.
And young people got the COVID, and sadly, some young people actually died because the reason is because in New York City, for example, Charlene, whatever her last name is, DiBlasio's wife, has a $1 billion budget for a completely bogus charitable thing that she's doing. So $1 billion, that's just one instance, is diverted away from going to things like hospitals, infrastructure, bridge repair,
Now it's the police.
Remember? Police, right? Yeah. Equipment. I don't know. Maybe having that stockpile you were supposed to have. Maybe having backup equipment for such a catastrophe.
He was warned to have all that,
I mean, seriously.
Not necessarily for COVID-19, but for a terrorist attack, any stuff like that. They were warned, and Cuomo knew that he already should have had that stuff. They squander their resources. Every liberal leader... They couldn't run a hot dog stand, these folks. Nobody calls them on it.
Nobody calls them on it.
That whole city has turned into... I know.
Seriously.
He's coming out with a book, and they love him. He's
on a book tour. We're still supposedly... Wait a minute. We got lockdowns going on. I thought we're still in a pandemic. We're still in a pandemic? How did you find time to write a book? Seriously? Yeah. You're the governor. We're paying you, and you shouldn't be allowed to profit and write a book while you're actually being paid by the people of New York. That should be illegal, and usually it is. Usually it's not illegal, but usually it's not done. Usually people don't gloat until the disaster's over.
Yeah,
Unreal.
well, and those people actually won. Let me just read off some names of some local businesses that are already closed now. AJ's in Clarence, right? Closed because the health inspector said they weren't socially distancing enough. Eden Memorial VFW Post.
Thanks.
Gables Bar in Buffalo. Swanee House in Buffalo. The Original Warehouse in Blaisdell, right? These are just a few of the businesses that have been shut down while Andrew Cuomo is writing a book on how to successfully defeat the COVID, even though he's got the most deaths. But the book company will front him $12 million. Yeah.
Oh
no, they'll buy it. These these mental midgets love it.
I don't know.
Man.
The Hillary Clinton book sold like 100,000 copies. She got paid $1 gajillion for it, and the book company's just completely loser. It's a legal money laundering scheme, really, is what it is.
The Democrats absolutely love this. The more the merrier. The more abuse that they put on business owners, they absolutely love it. The Democrat Party is not the working class party anymore, folks.
No, clearly not. It's the AOC party.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is
It's
the
Bernie
nut
Sanders
job.
party.
We want to abort babies after they've been born.
Yep.
We want to steal your money. We don't want to work for it.
Yep.
We don't want to put our boots on and work for it. We want to steal your money. And we want the highest taxes, right? We'll talk a little bit about that. Biden wants if he gets his way, New Yorkers in California, folks, you're going to be in a 60-something% tax bracket if you're a high wage earner. Right. Bye-bye. You want it's already over. You see but do some research, by the way. For those of you in New York who don't believe us, the mass exodus is already starting, right? Millions of people are leaving the state. Millions. And the property values in places like Florida are going up like something I've never seen before. And normally I would say, you know what, maybe there's a bubble, but there's not. There's just not enough spots for people to move to down there. Really.
It's going to sink.
You and I both own real estate down there. The real estate in my community has gone. I talked to my real estate agent yesterday morning.
You can't find houses right now.
She said, Mike, your property has gone up by 35 to 40% in just the last 6 months. I said, no way. She said, here's the comps, Mike. Here's what your neighbors have sold for. I said, you've got to be kidding me. She goes, Mike, I listed one the other day for this price, which supports those numbers. It's sold in 24 hours. I've had 6 bids on it. Now, so you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Meanwhile, San Francisco, rents are down 30-some%. Sales are down 30-some%. Values are down. New York City, rents and values are down 30-some%. Look at the difference, folks. New York City down 30-some%. It's such a stark difference between conservatism and liberalism and the difference in policy. Look at the policies of Texas.
They can't get it, Glenn.
They can't get it.
They are mentally ill. They are mentally ill. They will never solve this problem.
Let me finish the 30 days of March with Cuomo here, and then let's get on to the Biden and the tax and actually get into economic policy, because when you look at what these two are proposing, again, it is starkly different, and it will have starkly different results. And we'll talk about what those results are. Mike and I are usually spot on when it comes to, all the stuff we prognosticate. So this is now March 8th. Okay, so in New York, as New York coronavirus hits triple digits, Cuomo again tries to convince New Yorkers that this is not the Ebola virus. So don't worry now. Again, they're criticizing Trump for downplaying, especially Cuomo. You downplayed the virus. This is Cuomo in his own words again.
King Cuomo, the almighty leader.
King Cuomo.
Here. This is not the Ebola virus. This is not the SARS virus. This is a virus that we have a lot of information on. Johns Hopkins has
That's
been
not true. We had no information on it at this time.
No,
that was a complete and total pulled right out of his ass, and the media lets him go with it.
Every frontline COVID doctor that says this is absolutely ridiculous how we treated it, 99% of them have said, look, for the first few weeks, we didn't know. We didn't have any information on it, so you could see why people were panicking. After we had the information, 4 weeks later, then we should have made an educated decision to say this is ridiculous. You're not shutting down the entire country, right?
This is March 8th now. Cuomo is still telling people to go on the subways with minor modifications. If you could move to a train that's not as dense and you see a packed train, go to the next train. This is what he's saying. This is March 8th now, okay? So, again, he didn't – I want to remind everybody, he didn't go on to actually clean the subways until May. Okay?
Yeah, months later.
May. Yep. 2 months later. 2 months later – he finally gets around after they realize that the clusters are coming from close to the subways.
Probably the worst thing we could do, right? Because you just could get herd immunity and get it out of the way.
Right.
So now we're going to clean them up and get people sick from disinfecting.
Well, they should clean them up, though. They got to clean them. I was shocked to find they didn't clean them. I'm not getting on a subway or a bus that has never been cleaned. Are you out of your mind?
I'm surprised they don't. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
I mean, think about that. Just forget about COVID.
Forget about COVID. Yeah, forget COVID.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like where was that guy's hands and that girl's hands and that guy's hands and that girl's hands? Yeah.
Have you seen the people on the New York City subway?
Yeah.
I mean, some are going to work, but others are not. Right. So
no, right. Yeah, and some of them haven't showered in a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Or ever.
Move to a train car that is not as dense.
Genius.
If you see a packed
guy is a
train
leader.
car, let it go by, wait for the next train.
Oh my.
Yeah. This is his genius idea. That was March 8th.
That's right.
March 9th now. Cuomo downplays the in effect again. This is not the Ebola virus, he says. This hysteria that you see, this fear that you see,
again,
the
if he
panic
was
that you see is
honest,
unwarranted.
If he was honest, I would not have faulted him at all, right? You'd say, if he had said, I did the same thing Donald Trump did. I'm trying to be a leader. I'm trying to not scare people. We didn't have information. Fine. But when you just blatantly lie and you say, well, Donald Trump never, he didn't pay attention to this in the beginning, and I did. I was from day one. No, you didn't, you dirtbag. You didn't.
March 9th, in an unsettling episode of cringeworthy performance theater, Cuomo unveils a plan to force prison inmates to supposedly make hand sanitizer. Capitalism, not the virus, is the thinly veiled target. Remember? What does that smell like to you?
Yeah.
So this is the best. So did I mention it was cringeworthy?
Lilac.
Cuomo describes the floral scent of his sanitizers, lilac, hydrangeas, tulips, and then he sniffs his hands while health officials are telling everyone not to put their hands near their faces. Right. And then he asks the person next to him to also smell his hands.
Almost like he was on a Zoom meeting with that CNN guy, right?
Exactly. So, March 11th, Cuomo laughs at what he sees as a reporter's funny accent, and then he imitates it. I mean, seriously, cracking himself up. I mean, that's pretty disgusting, right? So he's making fun of somebody because of their accent. Yeah. For 6 years, CNN had banned Chris Cuomo from interviewing his brother for reasons obvious to anyone who has ever heard of journalism. On March 11th, when serious examination of Andrew's record was most important, they lifted the ban, of course. We could go on and on and on. This goes all the way through to the end of March.
Lift the band and bring the band together, man. The brothers are back. Yeah, they're going to run this
By the way, I want to
save the world.
Again, Governor Cuomo is and all the Democrats are talking about Trump moving too slowly. I want to remind everybody, on March 16th, the president announced 15 days to slow the spread. And New York at that point climbed to 950 cases and 7 deaths. Cuomo went on the Today Show. Okay, that's where he was. Andy went on GMA. Andy went on New Day. Andy went on Morning Joe. So Cuomo now, in the middle of March, instead of actually doing things. Now, President Trump at this time, by the way, was out there calling up additional supplies. He was mobilizing. He had already, at this point, had created a pandemic task force. He was already consulting with Fauci. He looked at the University of Washington numbers, which were completely wrong and false, right? 2 million people are going to die, and he had to go with it. And he said, I don't have any other data. In the absence of that, I have to go with what data I have. And so then he announces the 15-day pause. It wasn't until almost several days later, if not almost a week later, that Cuomo finally does the same thing. And if you remember, Cuomo did it in those little increments. Remember, Mike? It was 75% occupancy, then 50, then 20. Right. Every day. It
25,
just changed. Such a
50,
joke.
75. By the way, that 2 million number was if we did social distance by Fauci, right? If we did all that stuff, we were still going to lose 2 million people. Well, now, it comes out they were a little off because the estimates are, in my mind, about 12 to 40, somewhere between 12,000 and 40,000 people we actually
And
lost,
how disingenuous is it for the moderator to ask the question, why won't you at the town hall, not the moderator, but whatever her, Savannah Guthrie, why won't you just tell people to wear a mask for 2 weeks? Why won't you do that? Why won't
they don't
you do
work.
that?
He's got to be stronger.
I mean, he's got to come out. Well, he did say,
in the first debate,
it wasn't there. It wasn't.
In the first debate, though.
And
of course, the mainstream media is not going to tell us. But in the first debate, Biden says we lost 200,000 people. Right. That is a perfect opportunity to educate Joe on those actual numbers, right? Joe, I know you want to put 200,000 deaths out there, but that's not. 200,000 people died with COVID, Joe, not of COVID. The CDC, remember the science, you and your Democrats, you all wanted to follow the science? They're saying about 6% of them actually died of COVID. So it's somewhere in between there. Yeah. Every life matters. I absolutely understand that. But you Democrats are going to kill millions of people through starvation. Well, remember, you want a global economy. I mean, you want to include everybody. You love everybody. How about the millions of people that are going to starve globally, Joe? Do you care about them? Well, how about the people that are going to die of anxiety and depression? How about the drug overdoses, Joe? Do you care about those people, or is it just COVID? That's the only deaths you care about.
So when she asked the question, though, she says the University of Washington says that if we just wore masks for 2 to 4 weeks and everybody did it, we had full compliance.
Who did that study?
Well, the University of Washington did the study. That's the problem.
No, I mean, who at the study? Who at the university? Right? What liberal professor came up with that?
But they haven't been right not one since.
No.
Like,
Look at,
if I'm Trump, he's got to step up and say, "Look, with all due respect, Savannah, so far the University of Washington has got this so far wrong."
That's
that
right.
we need to look at, here's the thing.
How about
I don't
let's
think
look at
they
the countries
mean bad.
like Peru that already did this.
Right, I don't think they mean
How about
bad.
we look at those? No, they don't. No,
No, but
I don't.
they're just. I mean, look,
They're just incompetent.
Well,
They're totally incompetent.
But look, as you know, Mike, in real life, you can't put something on paper and then just assume that that's going to go. This is the problem with liberals in general. They have never actually run a business. They've never actually handled a crisis, right? What they're doing is they're saying, well, if we just, our computer models show, your computer models don't take into effect things like, I don't know, human nature, right? They don't take into effect, other things and other factors like weather and cures and vaccines and
mutating and
So they have no idea. These academics, I don't care what university
they
they're
were
from.
96% wrong, Glenn. The average model was 96% off.
I'm not saying you throw it out completely, but maybe you just have maybe you use that as one data point amongst many. Maybe we get 100 estimates. I don't know. But if to rely on, but for Savannah Guthrie to go back to that, Trump should have just stepped right up there, right then and there, and said, whoa, hold on a second now. You're talking about the same University of Washington that said we'd lose 2 million people. The same University of Washington that said New York City would be underwater by now. I mean, come on.
That's right.
I mean, let's look. If they mean well, let's take it with a grain of salt. But the reality of it is that there's not been enough data to show that masks are going to be that effective.
They've been wrong.
But anyway,
we run a financial firm. If we're 96% wrong time and time again, people are going to fire us, right? We need to fire these academics. They are absolutely wrong time and time again. They've been wrong about global warming. They're wrong about the hurricane season. They're wrong about the weather. I have a convertible car that I drive when it's nice out, and I drove it in the other day because I'm looking at the weather and it says 0% chance of rain as it's raining. Right? They can't predict the goddamn weather today, let alone where COVID's going to go.
Yeah, no, they can't predict the weather. And to that point, Mike, NBC finally came out this week. It's hilarious. And said, hey, it looks like decades. This is what NBC tweeted. This is no joke, folks. They tweeted this on the 18th. Okay, what's the date today? Today's what, like the 20th or something? What are we at?
20th.
Okay, so 2 days ago. This is what NBC tweets out. Decades of mismanagement led to choked forests. Now it's time to clear them out, fire experts say. Really?
Wow.
Where were you for the last bunch of years?
How is it that two guys, that could go back and forth from Buffalo to Jupiter and have two offices, but what a radio show, and how did we get that? Decades ago. Well, we're not talking like we didn't come up with this a week ago. Decades ago, we were saying, look, the forest fires are going to continue to be out of control because of all the brush on the bottom of the forest.
That's exactly what Trump said. He's right again, right? But here's the problem, Mike. This is what NBC said.
And actually, Trump, I say the debate, but in the town hall or the debate, he was talking about just that. And if you look at the studies overseas, they've done that successfully, right? They've cleaned up the base of the forest.
No, not just
and
overseas.
Had a lot
we've
less
done
problems.
it. Oh, come on. We've done it in Florida. We've done it in Texas. We've done it all over
Florida
the country.
all the time, right? We have structured burns in Florida.
Absolutely.
You see them going.
Absolutely. You've got to do that stuff, or else you end up with a raging forest fire that wipes out half of your state, which is what California is really. But here's the thing. This is how disingenuous NBC News is. This is 11/10 of 18. So November 10th of 18, California Firefighters Union said President Trump owes the communities and first responders an apology for blaming the state's deadly wildfires on poor forest management. But wait, it gets better. I mean, there's one after another of these. It's unbelievable. Here is NBC on 11/12, just 2 days later, November 12th of 2018. L.A. County Fire Chief on President Trump's tweeting blames only forest management for California. We're in extreme climate change right now, he says. I personally find that statement unsatisfactory, and it's very harmful for all first responders.
Shouldn't those forests be underwater at this point, though? Shouldn't they? I don't think they should. At this point, they should. Nothing should be on fire. It should be all underwater.
They were just lambasting the president back in November last year, or 2 years ago. November 21st of 2018. Opinion, Kate Aronoff. California is on fire and Democrats control the House. It's time to get serious about climate change. Okay. Let's just
mainstream media will never run with the story, though.
Right.
You might see a little spark.
I'm just surprised that the NBC even put it out there.
Yeah, me too.
This is as of one.
Whoever did that, I'm sure will be gone from the staff by next week.
Sure. This is as of 1/14 of 2019. Some furloughed employees see an additional irony because a shutdown has delayed fire mitigation and training at a time when President Trump was attacked California's poor forest management. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Here's another one.
Now quietly they release, he was
management
right.
isn't to blame for the forest firefighters, scientists say, bucking Trump. There's another tweet. Biden slams Trump as climate arsonist as fires ravage West. I mean, over and over. 11/18 of 18. President Trump was, just on and on it goes. And then they just tweet out 2 days ago, decades of mismanagement led to choke forest. Hello. Thank you for recognizing the truth, NBC. Hello. I guess you're saying that Trump was right again. Thank you very much.
CNN's going to pick up that story tonight. Yeah, talk all about how Donald was right once again. Let's
talk about something else we're not going to pick up, which is the tax plan.
Biden's tax
by
plan?
the way, talk about the debates on Thursday night. They just changed the rules again. I don't know if you heard this morning, Mike. Now they're going to mute the other candidate. Now watch what'll happen. Biden will get his 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Yes.
Trump will be interrupted repeatedly by the moderator, who is a left-wing Democrat. So Trump will have to debate two people again. They're going to shut off his mic when Biden talks. And Biden
win.
You know, that might actually work for Trump because let Biden talk for 2 minutes. He will talk himself right into circles. I mean, some of the stuff that he says are unbelievable.
They do not care, Glenn. If the mainstream media was honest,
I think he's lost the black vote. I think he's lost enough of Latinos. I think Trump. I still think Trump walks in. I do.
He does. There's no doubt about it unless they cheat, which they are trying their best to cheat. Right? They're trying their best to round up as many votes as they can in minivans, and your dead uncle's going to vote twice. There's no doubt about it. We absolutely need to make sure that this is, if he loses, we need to go vote by vote by vote. I don't care if the stock market goes down for a month. It'll come back if Trump wins. We absolutely have to make sure that this was a fair election.
Well, look at what they're doing in Pennsylvania. The judge just ruled Monday or Tuesday or whatever it was, sometime this week, that they can now count ballots up to 3 days after the elections close on November 3rd.
So until they get the results they want.
But it gets better. Yeah. With or without a postmark. With or without a postmark. So here's how this. Look, if it's postmarked, at least they have the ballot. How many are we short? Oh, looks like Biden's behind
40,
by 11,000 votes. You watch.
Okay.
Trump won Pennsylvania by 40,000 votes. He won Michigan by 10,000 votes.
That's right.
Now I think he's going to win by a larger margin. But how hard would it be for them to print off 10,000 or 12,000 voter application cards?
How about 3 days later? I'm
telling you, folks, this is going to be a
find this bag of votes in order.
That's right. This is going to be a contested election. Unless Trump wins in such an overwhelming landslide, or vice versa, and maybe Biden wins an overwhelming landslide. But if this is as close as I think it's going to be, you're going to have lawsuits on both sides. You're going to fight this out in the courts. The market's going to drop like every single day while that happens. This is going to, for those of you that got out in March that said, I'm too scared, and then didn't get back in and missed that huge rally, you're going to get another chance. You're going to get another chance.
Maybe.
Now, for those of you that participated in the rally, don't go to cash and say, well, Glenn says we're going to have a correction, because do you really want to give up 15 to 35% of your gain? Because that's what you have to pay tax on. You got to think about that, right?
We'll be the first to tell you we are not a timing firm.
No, not a timing firm.
You make subtle adjustments along the way, which we do, right? We're rebalancing portfolios. If you look at the last month, we have been rebalancing out of the stock market, not fully, right?
But raising some dry powder. Right, that's the idea.
Our balanced models, if they were 60-40 and now they're 70-30 because the market's done well, we're bringing them back in line with 60 to 60-40. And as you said, having some powder, so if the market does get volatile, we can go back down.
So if you have some dry powder, you got an extra $50,000 sitting in a bank account, you've got a CD coming due for $100. Again, you have to make sure it fits within your long-term objectives. So don't just go out there and But there's going to be some opportunities here, I think, and you just have to be ready for them, and that's what our money managers do, right? So our money managers are in a position to be able to go out there and strike when a stock gets pummeled like that. Think about the last correction. I'll give you a couple quick examples. Microsoft got slammed for no reason, right? Microsoft should do well. They're not anything related to COVID, right? The people, in fact, they should.
Actually, they're going to benefit.
Exactly.
Going to benefit.
We got down. I remember our analysts, John Thur and Paul Meeks and Dave Mariacker, they were all in lockstep saying, if that gets down to less than 140, I'm buying with both hands. It got down to like 132. It's 2-something today. 6 months later, it's almost double.
That's right. There's going to be buying opportunities.
Are the time, the kind of opportunities I'm talking about. So just be ready for them, because I think this is going to be contested. I think that the muting of the button, I think, is going to work in Trump's favor, because it will force him not to. But he's going to, if the moderator interrupts him, he has to stop and say, with all due respect, I'm the President of the United States. You're muting my microphone, so I can't interrupt Joe Biden. You have not interrupted Joe Biden, but you're going to sit here and interrupt me. I demand the exact same respect you're going to give Joe Biden. And then I would stay. But the fact that they're not even talking about economics in this, Mike, that's not even a topic.
He did that
He did.
the first go around, right? And especially when he was debating the other Republicans, because he made it very clear that, see all those people cheering? Those are Jeb's donors,
That's right.
Those are
right there.
yeah, that's all the pharmaceutical companies that want to give him money, right? He did a very good job of calling those folks out during the first go around, and I think you're right. He's got to do.
He's got to go right after her,
including with COVID. He's got to be more honest. If everybody heard
to be
our
honest
podcast,
with you, I wouldn't even answer that
everybody
question.
heard our radio show, if everybody heard our podcast, if everybody heard our radio show, and they actually knew the facts on COVID, very few people would be scared of COVID.
Yeah.
But they don't. They don't get that. They get ABC, CNN. You cannot find any. By the way, they've interviewed me personally 4 times. And I told last time Spectrum News was here, I said I turned to
we
Kelsey.
We have to have that videotaped
Redmond.
in the office.
I said we did. We have that last one. I said I guarantee they're not going to play this. She said why? I said because I was telling the truth on COVID and the truth on Andrew Cuomo. Damn well they didn't play it.
Here's the way I would play COVID though if I'm President Trump. Here's the thing. Again, we have to live our lives. Which future America do you want? Do you want lockdowns and hiding in your basement like Joe?
Yeah.
Or do we want to continue to Now, keep in mind, I would say I passed the Right to Try Act. I passed the Operation Warp Speed that has these therapeutics now. I put the government in a position to help our pharmaceuticals and lower the red tape and the regulations to give them an opportunity to get these drugs to market so we can treat this. But that's what you have to ask yourself as Americans. I would love him to look right in the camera and say that. Yeah. Do you want to live your life and take the chance and hopefully, obviously, we have 99.7% survival rate, or do you want to live a life of lockdowns and fear and hiding in your basement? That's what's on the ballot this time.
Add another little element to that, Glenn, because it seems to be okay. You're going to lock down and live in fear. Unless you're in a group that wants to smash the crap out of buildings and burn things down and hear from a CNN person, it's mainly peaceful but pretty fiery.
Fiery but peaceful.
Come on. So this is really all about common sense at this point. And when people, by the way, here's the debate, because I hear people go, I'm not voting for Donald Trump because he's just a disgusting man. How could you vote for him? And I'll say this. I'll say, you know what I find really, really disgusting? The one thing I find really disgusting is that the Democrats are willing to abort a baby or kill a baby after the baby's actually been born. I can't think of anything Donald Trump could say that could come close to that.
Seriously.
I can't. And when you say that to liberals, they'll look right at you and go,
that doesn't happen.
What is the argument for that?
That's not true. That doesn't happen.
Here's by the way, I've got the video of the governor of Virginia on my phone in case somebody wants to say, it doesn't have. Well, let me show you a Democrat where it does, and there's some, this is a Joe Biden supporter here, right? Yeah. Make him comfortable, right? So I don't know. Look, unless you are really a sick person, Democrat or Republican, unless you are really, really a sick person, which obviously some of these Democrats are. How do you debate that? I mean, what did Donald Trump do to offend you so bad that you would vote for somebody who would abort a baby as it's coming out of the womb? What could he possibly have said that was sicker than that? I want to know.
Look, you got a guy who's out there sniffing people. I mean, if you go back 4 years when Biden when they wanted Hillary, back when Hillary was in the race and they didn't want Joe Biden, when the establishment didn't want Joe Biden, right? They came out with CNN came out with a montage of Joe sniffing people, touching little kids, right?
That's right.
And CNN came out with that, right? Because of course they wanted Hillary back then, right? So everything was about Hillary.
Well, she was the candidate.
So back then,
she was a star.
That just goes to show how disingenuous the media is. They're really crazy. And now they're not even talking about this Hunter thing, which, by the way, I don't think this is going to work for them because if I'm Trump, honest to God, it's not even. I'm asking the question. It's his time. He could go back like Pence did.
You said something which he should be doing every single day, which at this point, Donald Trump should be calling his own press conference.
Absolutely.
So people pick it up. And he should be talking about the Biden family.
Yep.
He should be talking about the money trail. He should be talking about the fact that this family should be in jail.
Yep.
Remember that, hey, daddy gets 50% of this?
Yep.
The ties, he should absolutely be, and he's not.
No.
He's not. So if he's not going to do that, and the mainstream media is not going to pick up the story, I assure you this is going to go nowhere. Nowhere.
I don't think so.
Nowhere.
I think it is. And I'll tell you why. Because there's so much data here.
I pray you're right.
They're dripping it out. And
I pray you're right.
So what has to happen, though, is President Trump needs to call on Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, right now. I said this yesterday.
Demand an investigation.
Yes. I would just demand an answer. You had this laptop for 9 months. Is it his or isn't it? Answer the question, Christopher Wray. Why? And if it's not his laptop, and you believe it's Russian disinformation, why did you withhold that information from the president, though? I mean, seriously.
And why are we waiting till, quote, after the election, right? I think this is news that people would want to know. And guess what? If Joe is if he's innocent, great.
Yep.
That should help him,
well,
right?
if I'm Trump, I'm asking that question. With all due respect, moderator, the things you forget to ask about is economics. We'll talk about that. But more importantly, the revelation on Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family makes Hillary Clinton look like a Girl Scout. I mean, the fleecing of Ukraine, China, Russia. He just he tried that in the first debate. Can you explain why your son got $2.3 million from the richest woman in Russia? That's tied directly to Putin.
This is a drug addict
She's tied directly to Putin.
Zero background in anything.
Like this is Putin. Here, let me explain to who this woman is. For those that just like, oh wow, he gave a speech. No, he didn't. He didn't give anything. What is she buying? I think it was $3.5 million or $2.5 million was wired to Hunter Biden this year. Let me tell you who this woman is. This woman is the not former. She was the wife. I guess it'd be former because he's dead. She's the wife of the mayor of Moscow. Now, the mayor of Moscow was crookeder and crooked, right? So he was out there basically getting kickbacks and payoffs from everybody, and he made the mistake of taking some kickbacks and payoffs from basically extorting money from Putin's allies. Well, Putin didn't like that, so he died. I don't know, say how, he just died. I don't know how. I'm sure he was probably, disappeared, right?
He was at a dinner party with He was at a dinner party with the Clinton family.
So now, so this woman now, the wife of the former Moscow mayor is buddies with Putin. She's one of Putin's best. She's an absolute Putin ally. She's one of the richest women in Russia, and she's a Putin ally wiring money to Hunter Biden. Why? Who gives now keep in mind, and Rudy Giuliani did a great podcast and lays this all out, but Rudy Giuliani needs to do this in a press conference right next to Donald Trump. They need to line them all up.
Demanding an investigation.
Bring the FBI
demanding an investigation.
Immediately.
Right?
I would not even demand an investigation. The FBI has had this laptop since January. What did you find out, FBI? If Christopher Wray says, we don't have anything,
but how
you're
are
fired.
they not doing this, Glenn? How is this already not happening?
Exactly.
You've got 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks.
Right.
You got 2 weeks to get this thing out,
Unless
right?
they're planning on arresting Joe Biden like the week before the debates or the week before Election Day or something. This information has to get out there. But think about the mainstream media. I said this a long time ago. It's not just what they tell you. It's what they don't.
It's way more important what they don't.
Unbelievable.
Way more important what they don't.
Let's talk about real quick. We'll wrap it up with this, Mike. The Hunter Biden or the Biden tax increases. Even Ice Cube, I love this. Dyed in the World liberal Ice Cube says 66% in New York. The Knicks aren't even that good. I'm out of here. So, and of course, the liberals jump all over them. That's the best part. You're just selfish. If you make $30 million a year and you're selfish because you can't live on $14 million, I'd be happy to live on $14 million. So the warped mind of the liberal, it's selfish to want to keep your own money.
It's not. But it's not to steal other people's money. If you want to steal other people's money for redistribution, no, you're a hero. You're a saint in their eyes. But if you want to work hard for it and keep your own money, you are a criminal. You're a dirtbag.
As if the ones liberals criticizing him would ever write more money to the IRS.
No, never. Never once.
None of them. And there's some big people criticizing. There's some people with hundreds of thousands of followers.
All the people that do have money that are criticizing him are doing the exact same thing. Right?
Exactly.
They're just not. They're actually, and most of them, by the way, have figured out the business. Right? The model is you act like you're going to help the poor. You act like you're going to help the middle class. You act like you're not paying enough in taxes. You never write an additional check. And then what you do is you ask your towns for money. You come back and you say, I need money I need a tax break. I'm Hollywood. I need a tax break to do this movie film here. Not only do I need a tax break, hi, I'm Warren Buffett. It's Geico. I need $30 million, town, to come in on top of the tax breaks. No problem. Warren Buffett's coming to town. Here's the check. Have fun. They figured it out. The Clintons are masterful at this, right? The Obamas are starting to figure this out. Man, they're getting good at it too, right?
Good at it.
Millions and millions and millions of net worth piling up, right? The Pelosi's are great at this, right? They figured out how to use government in their best interest to make millions and millions of dollars, right? Donald Trump talked about it they said, oh, I used to get along with Democrats and Republicans. I had to. I was in business.
Right.
That's what I was doing.
That's what you do.
Right?
You contribute to both sides, right?
That's right.
The best part of this Biden plan is it hurts liberals the most. That's why I don't get. This is according to CNBC. Biden's tax plan could create a tax rate of as much as 62% for New Yorkers and Californians.
None of them
Studies
will be
show,
left.
Right?
None of them will be left.
62%.
None of them will be left. These are the most mobile people in the world.
Yep.
They will move. They will spend 6 months in a day in a business-friendly state, and they'll come back to visit in the summers, and they will not be paying a dollar.
These are the two states, though, that are for sure going to go for Biden. That's the best part about this.
That's
but
right.
there's two states that for sure we're going to probably lose. It's going to be California and New York,
Yep.
right?
It's a group of mental midgets in a very small
and they're
part
the
of
ones that are going to get hit the worst. Yay, take my money. What a
it's
joke.
a very small. Unfortunately, geographically, it's a very small strip
amazing.
that destroys these two states.
It really is amazing.
You're looking at Los Angeles, San Francisco. You're looking at New York City in the state. 18 miles in New York State destroys the whole state.
Let me let's wrap up with a couple things here. This is the best here. They finally get an opportunity to ask Joe Biden the question. This is no joke, right? He's getting ice cream. He's been hiding. Right? He put a lid on his campaign till Thursday because he's going to take all week to. And they asked him. They asked Trump, by the way. I was watching the TV and yesterday Fox News, and Trump landed somewhere, and they asked him. Of course, he walks to a report, asks him a question. How come are you going to do any debate, Mr. President? What are you doing, Mr. President, to prepare for the debate? He goes, I'm doing this. You people are vicious. You're fake news. You're lying. He just called him flat out. But here's Biden. They finally catch up with Biden in Michigan. They have an opportunity to ask Biden one question, and this is the clowns in the meeting.
Nothing about Hunter, I bet.
No.
Got everybody milkshakes, didn't we?
Yes, we did, sir.
Got everybody?
Yes, they're in the car, sir.
All right.
We got it. See, look.
Mr. Biden, what flavor did you get?
Oh, there you go.
I want chocolate, but I wanted to get what we call black and white, but we're going to move it.
One chance to ask him a tough question.
Chance to ask him, Mr. Biden, what flavor did you get? Not Mr. Biden, Mr. Biden. Can you answer questions about whether that was Hunter's laptop or not?
That's right.
Vice President
That's
Biden,
right.
Can you answer questions about the emails that were found on the laptop?
How did your drug addict son accumulate millions of dollars, right?
Think about this, Mike. He was thrown out of the Navy for dealing cocaine, okay?
Yeah.
And then later that year, he gets picked up by the board of Burisma for a $50,000 a month job, and as a sit on the board.
Very qualified.
And you're going to tell me that there's no anticipation of using Vice President Biden
and the mainstream media
for
can
influence?
do zero research into looking into this. Zero. I mean, this is a breaking news story, right? Any reporter 40 years ago would have died for this story.
Oh my God!
Right?
Yeah.
This could send your career into a totally different dimension. They will not touch it. They will not talk about it. And by the way, if any of you that listen to this, if you want to call 247 and comment, and ask them to come on and talk about it, they will not even dare bring you on. No, not even close. NBC, ABC, CNN. They will not. Nobody. I assure you, everybody is being vetted before they come on.
Oh yeah.
If they come out to if they've come out to my office, and the minute I talk about the truth on COVID or the number, done. The interview's over. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's done. They're not playing it. Delete it. Put it in the trash.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
There's
All right.
Once we're after. I had one. I wanted to do this other interview, but I don't know if I can find it quick. There was Jake Tapper just hammering Laura Trump. Right. I mean, just totally unprofessional. I don't know if I can find it or not, but it's just crazy. I mean, it really just disgusting. I mean, it's amazing. Here, I'll find it.
Yeah, they've got an agenda.
Oh, that's by the way. That's the excuse
now
now for Joe. He stutters. He had a stuttering problem.
Yeah.
That's his excuse.
Yeah. When did he stutter?
Listen to this exchange, though, Mike.
He's said a lot of foolish things in his time,
nothing to
but
do
I don't
with
remember
stuttering.
him ever stuttering.
No, give me a break. This is their excuse, though. Listen to this exchange, though, and let's
now
week.
we're being mean to somebody
That's right,
who's crippled,
exactly.
right?
This is what we should do every week. We should do a media moron of the week, and we'll do it right to the very end of the show. So every week we can find the worst media moron. This week has to go to this guy because he's a real winner here. This is
Jeffrey Tobin. He got caught playing with himself on
we'll
on a
save
Zoom
him for
meeting.
Saturday. Yeah, CNN, by the way. Who wants to work with that guy? I mean, all seriousness, right?
Right.
So CNN, he's on leave. He's not fired. By the way,
That's right.
this is the chief legal analyst for CNN. By the way,
he didn't walk out of the shower accidentally and forgot his camera.
If you did that, I get it, right?
It was an accident.
Something
It was an
happens,
accident.
like, oh my God, I was late for the meeting. I put the laptop
so
on the counter. I'm
embarrassed.
getting dressed quick. I obviously want to be really
No.
careful that you're pointing the camera in a different direction. But if that were the case, you say, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry."
Almost
That's
laugh
not what
it
he
off,
said.
right?
He came
Look,
out
accidents
and said,
happen. No big deal.
well, he came
Yeah.
out and said, "I apologize to my wife and my family." Yeah. You know what he did? He whipped it out on camera. What the hell is the matter with you? Who does that? And now you're going to go back to work with this
another
guy?
Democrat,
Wiener,
another proud Democrat. Yeah.
There you
another
go.
proud Democrat, right? Yeah,
another proud-
exposing himself to his friends and family.
Yeah, this is Jake Tapper and Laura Trump, and this exchange is just breathtaking. It's just so ignorant this is where we are in this country with the media. This is your media moron of the week.
Yeah, Joe, but just keep in mind, though, Joe, what flavor ice cream do you eat?
Yeah, Mr. Biden,
Yeah.
What, Mr. Biden, what flavor ice cream did you get?
Chocolate.
Of course, he has to say, I got one chocolate and one vanilla, because God forbid I take a side, right?
Yeah, it couldn't be racist.
Good Lord.
Campaign trail. Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. And one of the speakers at the Democratic convention was a young boy.
When did that start? What age did that start? That stutter.
Yeah, well, he has.
What age did that stutter start?
No, give me
I've seen a lot of clips from Joe over the years. I don't remember him stuttering. So when did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, was that like was it, maybe it's because his mask is too tight. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it's his brain's wound too tight.
Yeah, sorry, I keep cutting this off.
Take a listen.
It was really amazing to hear that someone like me became.
So he finds a kid. He finds a kid
stutters. That actually does stutter.
Just so happens to have a Biden in New Hampshire signed behind him. You cannot make this up.
No.
And of course, the poor kid. This makes me feel. And look, of course, you feel bad for this kid if he stutters, right?
Sure,
Nobody wants to make fun of somebody's speech impediment.
Right,
That's not Joe's problem here. Joe's not.
No.
Joe can't form a full sentence. It has nothing to do with stuttering. Joe's touching little kids. That has nothing to do about a speech impediment. Joe's family is taking millions of dollars from communist countries around the world and corrupt governments. No problem.
He's been caught sniffing women, and he just can't stop.
Nothing to do with stuttering. Nothing. But here's what they play. They bring this kid out.
The sympathy card.
The sympathy card, right? And then
Is there music in the background?
Vice President.
Braden Harrington, a very brave young boy.
This is sad.
You made this comment earlier in the campaign
better.
about Joe Biden. Let's take a listen to that.
What a setup hit job.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Let's shut this down right now.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me.
That is so amazing. How much of a dirtbag you are.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think.
Oh, and you do, Jake?
That somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses.
If you pause this for 1 second, let me talk about cognitive decline.
Ignorant.
He thinks he's running for the Senate.
Right.
He doesn't even understand he's running for president. He has said multiple times, "Thank you, I want your vote for Senate."
He has actually said, "Vote for Donald Trump in this upcoming election."
Right.
I mean, should we play the montage? We had a whole montage of Biden. By the way, was it the stutter that caused him to say that in my home state of Delaware, you cannot walk into a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts without a slight Indian accent?
I love kids. Right? I love kids rubbing my hairy legs.
Yep. Does that come to the stutter? Give me a break. But this argument, though, listen to how much of an ass this guy is. I mean,
I'll tell you what. The only thing Joe Biden hasn't done is stutter.
Exactly.
He says
the least of his problem.
He says some creepy things pretty clear.
Stuttering's not his problem. Believe me.
No.
This is about 30 seconds left, and this just gets even worse. This goes downhill from here.
Politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked about a cognitive decline.
See that Joe Biden
I have one last question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Laura Trump, thank you.
Yep, there you go. So that is a Jake Tapper, who is the absolute,
dirtbag of the week.
Yeah, dirtbag journalist of the week. That's what we'll call it. We'll mark this segment.
He out dirtbagged Jeffrey Tobin, who got caught masturbating
that's right.
on a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, that's hard to do. That's hard to do, Jake. Congratulations.
Hard to do. Maybe we'll try to bring Jeffrey back up next week. So.
Exactly. Did we ever play? We're not going to have time.
We'll see if he's
now,
got any Zoom meetings this week.
Did we ever play the where Wolf Blitzer just takes apart Nancy Pelosi?
We did.
Did we play that?
Did.
Because that's a great one. If you haven't seen that, Anyway.
By the way, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe hit the bell. Subscribe to us on YouTube, folks. We need all the conservative voices out there. We need to continue to grow We're running out of platforms, by the way. We can see that with with the Biden clips in the New York Post article this week, and immediately they're being taken down from Facebook and Twitter. We need that conservative voice out there. So please do whatever you can to share our podcast and to share our message. On behalf of Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle, we'll see you next week right back here, the place where money meets politics.